I went to Odawara,
Yes.
and in fact, there's a paradox about this marvelous place, is that you are mainly known for photography,
Right.
and when you go there,
Right.
you organize a place where there is almost no photos.
No photo view. Well, there's 7 seascapes, large size. Only 7.
Yes.
Yes. Within the many acres of land. So this is more like my artwork. This is my architectural practice as well. I'm designing the best space to show my photo.
Yes.
Yes.
But
And also showing my collections. So it's just my final state of my art. This is my final fantasy.
so it's a so you were speaking about Odawara and the conception of Odawara. So what's the idea about this place?
The idea of this place, which was the financial side, I make sales of my art and make a profit out of it, and I want to spend all my cash towards the future of my production of my art. So my wish is to, towards the end of my life, I want to die with cash balance 0.
You can buy jewels to your wife.
It's nice to spend all my asset redeposited into the to production of my art. So I sell my art, make money, and use this money to make another art. So and no inheritance tax. Everything's moved to the art. So there's no cash, only art remained after my life.
But it's also a way to be in the history.
History?
Yes.
Yes, the history side, I have another concept. So there's many sides of the concept towards the creation of this, with our art foundation. I'm thinking about making ruins after this civilization and sometime. I think it's soon coming.
Really?
Huh?
Really?
I have a kind of feeling that because of this is a system, this contemporary society, the capitalism remained at the final state. So capitalism concept is you have to create more production compared to the previous year, 5% or 7%. Then we have a limited resources, of course, so we cannot keep growing forever.
Yes.
Sometime I don't know how it's end, but it's kind of crashing spot. What's coming? So I just want to make a Parthenon-like or pyramid-like a symbols of this civilization.
So while we
as a ruin.
What will last? What kind of ruin will be in your foundation?
The structure itself, it's probably has to be very strongly built. So this is my concern to use the stone structure, like a Greek, Roman, and Egyptian. Basically, the stone remained as a ruin.
Yes.
So I have a kind of fetish feeling towards the stone. So I collected not only this century, but original Japanese civilization, like 7th, 8th centuries, stones from the very ancient Buddhist temple stone,
Yes.
base stone.
Because most of the buildings are in wood in Japanese culture.
Yes, but in this case, I of course uses wood, but mainly stone structure. And I'm thinking about 1,000 years later or 5,000 years later, as a ruin, it should be look beautiful.
Ah, you think about it.
Yes.
And when you build it, you thought about it.
Of course. The
Wow.
wooden part is gone. All the shattered glass will be gone. Only the strong stone part remain with ivies growing. So this is my imagination. How it should be beautiful after 1,000 years, 5,000 years later. Like we look at the pyramid 5,000 years later, it's still beautiful.
But so there's a vocation of this place like for eternity?
Well, eternity, the history of the concept of eternity is suspicious. Everything's changing, everything's moving, even the material itself, the land, location, the shape of the land, everything is changing. So, well, everything is temporary, but I think this civilization will be either end or changed probably, but like we are looking at the ancient ruins feeling, which I like. So.
But you are, in your photos, you are not speaking about ruins. You could, huh?
Well, this can be like a ruin.
Really?
Yes.
Ruin of one? Of what?
Ruin of post-civilization. Yeah, the first concept when I started this seascapes in 1980, or even before, I started thinking about how can I see the landscape which ancient people or early stage of the human being looking at the scenery, and can we share kind of same vision with ancient people, with modern people? And I look at the land. We changed everything. We cut the wood. We cut the forest. We built a city and agriculture side. We changed the land. But the sea, we may be able to share the same vision with people who used to live 10,000 years before, or 100,000 years before. That's a concept. So this can be the post-civilization scenes as well.
But when you were antique dealer,
Yeah.
you were, what I wanted to say, in a way, you were dealing with ruins.
Ruins also, Japanese ruins, fragment, and also the Jomon period, the Jomon sculptures, small figures I used to buy. So I learned a lot from the object itself, that I owned it, I touch it, I sleep with it. Then the spirits of the Jomon people, I just transferred from the object which I'm touching it, and then I feel it. So I know what the Jomon people used to feel.
Huh?
Yes. So I'm a Jomon artist as well.
But it's beautiful, right?
Yes.
It's exceptional, Jomon. But so, what is left from this period when you were an antique dealer in your mind? What is there in your mind from this period still?
Well, the Japanese is so different kind of feeling and mentality-wise. So, okay, January 1st, almost every Japanese go to the Shinto shrine to pray. And it's a little like a Christmas, but slightly different. It's more like very Jomon kind of feeling is coming
Really?
back, yes. To worship of the sunrise and New Year's sun is especially spiritually important. So, so Japanese, it's the civilization itself is so late, but during this Jomon period, Japanese raised very special sensitivity toward the nature. So, but nature worship is very primitive feeling, but the Japanese is still living in that feeling.
And ignore it.
Ignore, yes. And then also the history of Japan as an emperor system. This is only one unique country that the myth, how we came to this to world, how world started. So this is an ancient king still in power for the 20 to the 21st century. It's probably believed that the 600 BC, the first emperor started. And then, French, your guys killed your king already 18th century, 17th century. Yes. And
But there is England.
England, yes.
Very traditional.
Yes. But the first King Arthur, time, it's probably, 2,000 years? But British royalty is not so old, I think, from, 12th, 13th century, I think.
But you decided to go and live in America. You
yes.
so Japanese.
Yeah.
You who is so Japanese.
Yes.
Who you are so Japanese. You went to live in America, in New York.
Yes, at 22 2 years old I was.
And why did you decide, as
Because,
a German representative, to go and live?
That time I didn't know how much I'm Japanese. I only found my Japaneseness during the stay in New York. Yeah. The Japanese don't think themselves as a Japanese. It's so natural and part of the nature. So only you are intentionally out of Japan, then I start thinking about what's the Japaneseness is. Yes. And then, so I came up with my answer. Also, I was born in 1948, only 3 years after the Second World War was over. And I kept thinking, why? It's so stupid that the war against the United States, the national, the product is 10 times bigger that time.
Yes.
There's no chance to win, but the Japanese went into the war. So then this kind of question, I kept thinking and trying to find the answer. And also at the same time, the Japaneseness. What is Japanese? Those are the weird people.
And you wanted to be confronted to America, so?
I studied Marxist economics in the university.
Wow.
So I was mainly studying Western philosophy in Japan. And I went to California in 1970. And then there's a hippie movement. And then I totally amazed, wow, those young people is doing. And then I encountered Oriental philosophy against Western philosophy.
Yes.
And Buddhism and Zen Buddhism was booming in 1970 in California. So I instantly catch up myself, wow, people thinking about the Zen Buddhism, and people keep asking whether I'm enlightened or not. And I was shocked, wow, this is a different way of thinking. So I'm totally went the wrong way. Studied Western philosophy in Japan and studied Eastern philosophy in California.
You were always exotic everywhere you go, no?
Yes, yes.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, you want to feel like a foreigner where you go.
I was, yes, foreigner. And I still feel foreigner in both countries.
And your art speak about that?
Speak about what?
Your art speak about being a foreigner too?
Then I spent almost 3 years in California as a flower children, and then I graduated my art school, so I moved to New York, and then I encountered contemporary art. And then I decided to be a contemporary artist, and I was trained as a very good photographer. I thought I can be a commercial photographer in New York, or fashion photographer, kind of fashionable world. But I moved to New York and saw this commercial world. I decided, well, this is not my world. And then I saw Donald Judd show and Dan Fleming show, and I was amazed. Well, is this possible? Then, well, maybe I can join this club, contemporary art.
When was it? In the 70s?
1974. 1974. Since then, yes, I've been living in New York. I had no plans at all at the age of 22 to move to California, and I thought maybe I'd be back in Japan sometime, but I didn't have a plan, so I just end up as staying in the United States.
And where were you in California?
Los Angeles. But I have a very close friend in Berkeley, California, studying Buddhism philosophy, so I spent quite some time in Berkeley, California as well.
And coming back to the foundation, you are the foundation is a tribute to the sun, right?
Yes, yes. So this is almost the civilization in ancient times, the worshipping the sun, probably Egyptian as well, and maybe Mediterranean areas, religions, and South America, Inca. So same as the seascapes, how we started our civilization, or what is the human consciousness, how it started. That was my keen question, to question myself. How only human gained consciousness, not the other animals, from animal state to human state. What? This is the most interesting point in the history of human. So I want to feel the first human being. Wow, I'm here. I have a mind. I have a consciousness. Who am I? And this very, very original point of the history of human. Probably this is the first one I think myself. Suppose I was the first human appeared in the planet of Earth. So I'm standing here in front of a seascape. Wow, start wondering, well, I'm here, and there's a seascape surrounded me. And then probably first thought is, who am I and where am I? And then looking at the sun rising up from the east and setting towards the west, and then probably the direction will be first sense to feel yourself. Where am I and who am I? So although those kind of sense I re-experienced by myself.
And so you wanted to give the tribute to the sun in your
To the sun.
foundation.
Yes, and so the first structure I made was this winter solstice sun worshipping tunnel, 70-meter underpass, and every year only once a day, December 22nd now. So the people worship the shortest sun, and then from next day the sun coming back for the longer term. So this is a very, very important time for the human being, and also the consciousness, how consciousness gained by human being. Ancient memory that I want to remember or rethink about again. So this structure is very, very key place for people to re-experience how we came to the human.
And did Naoshima add any influence on your project?
Naoshima, yes, I was commissioned to build a Shinto shrine. So this is a kind of, it's very closely connected. The origin of the Shinto shrine and also origins of the human consciousness. That's all related. That's also the Jomon period mentality.
Wow.
Still remain in the Japanese in the 21st century's mind.
And what about the moon? Moon is very interesting, and it was the former calendar.
Yes.
So
Moon
do you care for the moon too?
Also, we have a moon viewing special day every month to watch the moon.
Ah, really?
Yes.
At the foundation?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. The moon is the source of the poem, I think. Yes.
And
Sun is the source of the consciousness. But after the consciousness came, we start making poems looking at the moon,
wow.
especially Japanese literature.
And
The moon was kind of television for contemporary people.
very
watched
special,
it.
very special broadcast, huh?
Right. There's nothing to look at in the nighttime.
That's interesting.
Huh?
Yes, that's very
Yes.
interesting. You're
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So for
look at the
century,
moon.
they had TV and they didn't know it. and what about the temple?
Temples, Buddhist temple.
The temples that we saw, that you built in
the
the
Shinto
foundation.
shrine.
Yes, the
Right?
shrine.
Yes. Temple is usually for the Buddhist structure. The Shinto shrine is called the jinja. So it's a shrine.
Yeah, sorry. So why did you build this shrine here?
So this year I invited the Shinto spirits from the Kasuga shrine in Nara, which is the most one of the most ancient shrine. Probably Ise shrine and Kasuga shrine. Those are the oldest history of the shrine. So this is unusual for artists to ask, invite to come to settle into my property from the ancient capital Nara, because I need a shrine. Shrine is in the part of the nature that the spirits of the God is living in the nature. And then since I occupy so much land in this kind of nature, so our art foundation, I need a shrine to respect the local the land spirits. So this is a very, what's the same as when Japan started, probably the emperors, the territory started from ancient capital Nara, and it kept expanding to the east and west. And then every time, at that time, 6th, 7th century, the Tokyo was a kind of barbarian area. And then there's probably Ainu people, different kind of people was living. And then emperors, military keep expanding their land. And every time that the new territory gained, then the spirits from the ancient capital Nara settled, and then set Shinto shrines, spirits into the nature.
So you did the
I
same?
wanted to do the same things like what the 6th, 7th century people did.
But even in your work of art in general, spirit is something very important.
Yes, yes.
Even in photography.
Yes.
You told me that before when we met. And the light is also about spirit, no?
The spirits, yes. Well, with spirits in Shinto spirits, and also what the European art, that spirits is very important. Probably, it's hard to describe what the spirit can be for the artist. But Leonardo da Vinci has his own spirits. Van Gogh has his own spirits, right? But
Yeah.
it's a kind of artistic spirits. It's something different from the religious spirits. It's spirits. It's a very interesting word in English.
But
How do you call it in French?
l'esprit.
Esprit.
But there's l'esprit, which is singular,
Yeah.
and les esprits, which is plural, and more not religious, but more, how can I say, spiritual.
Spiritual.
But what about the spirit in your art?
Spirits in my art. Well, I think there's a spirit in my art, but I cannot describe what my spirit is.
But you are looking for that,
I'm
right?
spiritual, I think, but is there any human without spirits? Can be.
But
Well, even the capitalism, so that people's mind, something, but evil like spirits and artists like spirits. It's many different kind of spirits.
and what is your kind of spirit?
Well, maybe my alcohol is a spirit.
Also, you manage well with humor, right? and what about the tea room? Because you adapt traditional tea room to a
Right.
new kind of tea room,
New
no?
kind of, tea room supposed to be carry the spirits of tea. Yeah, the spirits of tea is usually called just have a tea and drink it.
Yeah.
That's the tea spirits. That's explained very well. So it's kind of performance as well, and then also just the drinking tea. It's nothing complicated. It's a very simple, and that's serious art form. So that's what I like it. But
You create a space for tea.
just have a tea and drink.
Yes.
And with guests. So it's also an art show. You hang one art for the one occasion, and it's only one time only. You invite a guest, one or two guests and show the art, make a tea, and drink together, spend some time together, and look at the art and discuss about it, talk about it, not discuss about it, and then spend 3-4 hours. So this is quite a unique way of having a guest, and also kind of performance, how beautiful your movement of the hand to make a tea. And the tea bowl must be a top quality sculpture-like form.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of historical, sometimes handwriting or painting can be hanged. So this is a total art with a performance and the visual show, and then also the way you wear the kimono as well.
And so now you are happy about your foundation? You think it's a...
Yeah, it works as I have a tea room there.
Yeah, I was there.
Do a tea ceremony to invite.
No, but in general, when you look at the result of what you wanted to do, what do you think? What's your feeling? Are you satisfied with it?
I am, yes, quite satisfied, but I no, it's not finished yet. So probably when I'm financially collapsed, that stops there.
So, but you still have some money, so
yes,
you can do something.
So till I die, I keep trying to accomplish.
So what's the next step?
Huh?
Next step.
I'm already starting the new construction site for the small performance space with the small museum-like site to show my collection.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's already groundbreaking took place. The foundation of the foundation is being built. Next year I put the structure on top of it. And also it has to be architecturally challenging. It's not the conventional space.
Mm-hmm.
So at the age of 17, I became an architect as well. So I'm still a young coming up architect.
Very nice. And so what about your project at Hirshhorn in Washington?
This is probably scheduled with 2.5 years, 3 years. My design finally approved by government.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
so you are fully American now?
Huh?
You are American,
yes,
the government loves you.
Yes, I'm paying tax in the United States, so I have to pay back myself.
And so, what is the project like?
Well, it's a huge site of sculpture garden of Hirshhorn Museum that was originally designed by Gordon Barnshaft.
Mm-hmm.
It's a not a nice garden, but the Barnshaft was a very good close friend of Isamu Noguchi.
Ah.
And then they discuss about what the policy of this garden should be. And then they wanted to create a Zen garden, Zen-like garden. But in the summertime, the Washington is so hot, and the dry Zen garden with no trees, and people suffered from heat. And then Barnshaft's original idea is to bring the people from the main building. It's like a donut-like shape, very unique architecture. And the underpass, there was an underpass to bring the people to the sculpture garden. But it's been closed for many, many years now, because in the 60s, the Washington wasn't in a very good condition. There's so many homeless people there.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't a safe city to live. So underpass became a home for homeless people.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they've been shut for a long time. So I wanted to reopen this underpass. And then also the dry garden should be nicely designed. It's not the Zen garden like it has to be contemporary 21st century sculpture garden, which I gave plan to the Hirshhorn Museum. This was like 5-6 years ago. I was first asked to redesign the sculpture garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's announced my design, there's the people who support me, including the Hirshhorn Museum director, Melissa Chu, and people.
That I know well.
Huh?
I know her. Melissa.
Melissa is very powerful woman. But there's a very conservative people, the protectionists of the historical structures. So there was the big argument in the battle whether the original design should be kept or accept the new Sugimoto design has to be approved by government or not.
And so what now? It's accepted? It's accepted?
Now, well, I'm 90% win.
So what's the general idea of it?
Well, they have a very beautiful collection of modern sculpture like benhamou-huet, Barbara Hepworth, and the half of the space has to be shown, those collections. And I thought, what's the best background to make modern sculpture nice? I offer the idea that the pre-modern background must be best to make modern art look nice. So I offer the Japanese, stone structure like the 16th century, the Japanese castle, every cities, especially Himeji City was the best one. So same kind of a stone piling technique from the 16th century. And I have a team to make, as you know, you go to the Enoura Observatory, there's many stone structure and many different kind of stone piling system, and which I have the stone masonry, the craftsmen. I have a group of people. So I want them to train American stone masonry to make a 16th century Japanese style stone piling as a background.
Wow, that's a challenge.
That's a challenge, yes.
Okay, that's
many layers of challenge, whether we can control American craftsmen or not.
And so, last question, what is your dream now?
Dream now? Well, dream now, it's like a dying in a dream. Not to know I'm dying. I'm practicing this art towards the end of my life, but probably I feel, well, I'm very happy now that the Enoura Foundation is coming to shape.
Yes.
But I'm getting so busy towards the end of my life. I'm getting more and more busy, more museum shows, and I have this foundation job. So I usually say I'm too busy to die.
So, but you can dream. Do you still have time for dreaming?
I'm almost every night I have a dream. Amazing that last night was a real dream, but the daydream and night dreams, usually night dreams becoming a daydream. The message came in the nighttime.
Really?
Yes.
Premonitory.
You do this. And then so the daytime I'm making plans of my dreams. And Enoura was one of them. And also Shinto shrine I was able to build. That was also the Shinto spirits came to my dream in the nighttime, you walk, okay, this is an order from the spirit that you should do this. And so I told my dream confession of the God to the Kasuga Shrine, the chief abbot. And he said, wow, this is amazing. Let's do that. So what I'm doing is very, very, very contemporary look, ancient spiritual activities. So yeah, dreams is making more powerful and sending a message to me. So my dream is I'm dying into the dream.
Oh, you are floating, or you are living into dream.
Living into the dream. Yes, living into the dream.
Merci, monsieur.
Merci.
Arigatou gozaimasu.